Court records show us what detectives say led to the unintentional shooting death of a teenager in Lubbock last month. The Lubbock County grand jury indicted Matthew Wood for the death of 19-year-old Taylor Wilson. Back on January 9th, Wood and a group of friends say that they were watching a football game at his house near 21st and Rochester. Court records show Wood told detectives he was showing a friend how he cleans his 9mm pistol, but said he didn't clear the chamber or remove the weapon's magazine. Police records show Wood confessed to pointing the weapon toward Wilson and pulling back the slide which fired the gun. Wilson died at the hospital. If convicted, Wood faces up to 2 years in prison and a $10,000 fine.